Fine, there you go. I finally tried Nuphy Keyboards, so you don't have to. But there's just one catch, because I'm not just trying Nuphy Keyboards, I'm trying to find out the best low-profile keyboards. Because howdy hey, I'm Hipyo Tech, and I've had mold in my walls for the last 3 months. And for some reason it's grown sentient and starts talking to me at night, and it keeps telling me to try Nuphy Keyboards. Either that or some of you have gotten a little bit too parasocial. Now, I've seen a lot of claims, like Nuphy is the best low-profile keyboard. However, I already thought that I found that, like a few months ago. Isn't that the Lofree Keyboards? Because they talk?
Was I wrong this whole time?
Now, if you're new to keyboards and you just stumbled upon this video, let me quickly set the stage for you. As Nuphy is a keyboard brand that has been really taking off recently. They specialize in low-profile keyboards, meaning decently flat. However, I did recently look at their Gem 80, which was a normal-looking keyboard. Nothing weird and flat going on there. I think that's what she said. Now, originally, I purchased this keyboard 4 months ago, but then I got really busy and really sick. In between that time, I've done a video on the Lofree Keyboards, which was sponsored, and a video on Nuphy Keyboards, which was sponsored. However, this video is not sponsored, and all of my thoughts are, as always, my own. First, let's start with the thing a lot of you care about. No, I'm not single, but wait, what is this?
What the hell?
So I don't think I'm the target demographic here, but this keyboard does come with anime waifu stickers. If you've ever thought the phrase, God, gee, I wish my keyboard had a waifu, then I guess this keyboard is for you. However, if you're normal, then you probably wished, God, gee, I wish my keyboard came with a cable. And yeah, this keyboard's also for you then. Nobody wishes for a switch puller, right? There's no guy praying in a corner like, oh God, I wish I get a switch puller for Christmas. Oh, but we won't be needing that cable because this keyboard is wireless. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later because it's very important. If I can get that thing back in. Now, as I was gonna say earlier, the price of this keyboard starts at $120 US. However, realistically, it's gonna end up at $130 US because the Gateron low profile switches that they include really just aren't that great. I'll also talk about that a little bit more later. Now, at 130 bucks, this thing is decently priced considering it's a fully built keyboard with very unique features compared to a regular mechanical keyboard, I should say. The first thing you'll notice, unlike when you look at my butt, is that it's decently flat, except there are flippy feet. Unlike when you look at my butt. Except the back is polycarbonate, which is a little bit disappointing, I'm not gonna lie, although that could be for wireless performance. However, there is a nice little reflective mirror that you can use to see if your mom is sneaking up on you enjoying your anime waifu. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I have eyes, and this keyboard to me looks really pretty, aside from the forehead that kind of reminds me of Jack's films. Here's a shot of me rubbing the back of the keyboard because I thought this would give you some kind of idea. I really don't know why I filmed that. What I think really sets apart the Nuphy Keyboards is that they sell their own sets of NSA keycaps, and no, they don't spy on you. If you're watching this, NSA agent, please subscribe to my channel. I know you aren't subscribed, it's really rude. These are a bunch of different designs of keycaps that let you customize the look of your board for only $24, which I think is a pretty good price for replacement keycaps. Speaking of keycaps, wait, what's this cute little guy doing here?
Are you from the NSA? I swear to God.
Now, originally, I showed you guys this keycap set about a year ago, and since then, a lot of you have been asking about it. Like, it blew up in that wooden keyboard short, and dear God, my DMs have never been more full. Well, what if I told you that there's currently a limited run of these in-stock coffee shop keycaps that I made available at Kinetic Labs. Check it out with the link down below. What you're not getting with this keyboard is any form of gasket performance or bounce whatsoever. It's kind of like a slab. Speaking of slab, I have not forgotten about the Lofree keyboard that I mentioned earlier in the video. I will be getting to that soon. Don't worry. Now, the looks of this keyboard, very appley. The feel of this keyboard, way better than appley. However, I can't help but desire just a little bit more when I type on this thing, and I think that could be due to the switches. Before we look at the switches, however, I'm getting word from my NSA agent that I need to look at the keycaps, so here you go. They're double shot. Sorry, I dropped it. Please don't leak those documents. Please don't leak them. And they're also made out of PBT. Now, the switch options are quite vast, as you've got a couple switch options that are just basic Gateron 2.0 switches. I don't recommend those. And then you've got a whole separate line of their aloe, cowberry, wisteria, moss switches. What I could tell from my very limited research is that these are switches that Nuphy made with Gateron and kind of took it into their own hands to upgrade them just a little bit. Now, essentially what you have here is two different linear switches and two different tactile switches at different weights. Think lighter to press versus harder to press. Now, because I actually really love the tactile switches in my Lofree keyboard, I decided to go with the wisteria switches. However, I also purchased the aloe switches to give a shot. And this is where I actually think Nuphy starts to run into some issues, because these Gateron switches really just aren't the best. Like, don't get me wrong, they're fine. They feel relatively smooth and they sound okay, but as a whole, they leave a little bit to be desired.
Friendship with Gateron ended. Kale is new best friend.
Like, I can't help but feel that they need a little bit of extra lube or maybe different materials, like not the polycarbonate top. Because as we'll talk about later, it kind of just leaves the board feeling a little bit clacky and just a little bit cheap feeling. But maybe that's because it is cheap, like $30 cheaper than the Lofree Flow. Well, kind of. We'll talk about that later. But later is now, because the Lofree Flow comes in at $159 US. So depending on you live and depending on shipping, these are about $15 to $20 apart. But depending on how you use your keyboard, that could actually mean a world of difference. Now, when I originally tried the Lofree Flow about 4 months ago, again with the flow, the bars, I absolutely fell in love with their full palm switches and their thocky sounds. Like, can I get a "this sounds like heaven"? Now, comparing these keyboards is way easier than I thought it would be, so I'll make it pretty easy for you as well. First, the Nuphy has a polycarbonate back, but an aluminum top. The Lofree has an aluminum bottom and an aluminum top. Okay, now I remember why I got the shot of rubbing the bottom of the keyboard. Now remember, the Nuphy keyboard has the flippy feet, and the Lofree keyboard has just standard ones. Both of these keyboards are 75%. However, Nuphy does have the leg up in terms of layout options and pricing. Similarly, the Lofree keyboards look more minimalistic and they don't have a big forehead. However, Lofree has a lot less keycap options, so there's that to think about, if customization is what you like. Personally, I do really like customization. Now, if you're an RGB lover, then the Lofree does have side lighting, however, it only has white backlighting, which shines through the keycaps. The Nuphy, however, does have full RGB, but you can barely tell when it's on because it is very, very dim. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, oh, well, I'm probably gonna go with the Lofree, or maybe I'm gonna go with the Nuphy. But this is where it actually gets really interesting, because remember how I said the Lofree thocks? Well, if you're someone that obsesses with typing feel and typing sound, then you're a nerd. And also, welcome to the Hipyo Tech channel. That's literally what we do here. And that's where I say the feel and the sound of the Lofree keyboards is just generally superior. Like, is it $20 to $30 superior? I'd say yes. And you're probably wondering, why, Hipyo, why? Well, the switches on the Lofree board are made by Kale.
Kale is new best friend.
They're made of full palm, which makes them feel just a little bit smoother and also a little bit deeper. It kind of just leads to a more significant typing experience where it feels like you're typing on a more premium keyboard. That's not to say that the Nuphy experience is bad at all, but just in comparison, the Lofree just feels like typing on butter. Whatever that means. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, Hipyo, wait, why haven't you mentioned the Keychron low-profile keyboards, or the ones from Asus, or other brands? Well, I know I might look like it, but I'm not actually a keyboard wizard that can try every keyboard, so I haven't tried some of those other keyboards, and I'd love to know your thoughts. Now, there's basically no flex in either of these keyboards, so you're not really getting anything from gasket performance, but what I think is really interesting is the Nuphy board actually weighs a little bit more, even though it's got the plastic bottom. Like, what's up with that? So if you plan on traveling with this keyboard, which I feel like a lot of people that buy low profile keyboards would, the Lofree is actually just a tinge lighter. Speaking of lighter, the best way to connect these keyboards to your computer is with the wireless functions that they both have. And here's where Nuphy takes back points, because remember the weird dongle from earlier? Well, in addition to Bluetooth, this allows you to use 2.4 gigahertz connections. Like, Bluetooth can be really useful if you use something like the Nuphy Folio and you want to connect your smartphone, which I mean, Nuphy does have it winning when it comes to accessories. But Lofree doesn't offer a 2.4 gigahertz dongle, which means that your connection with Bluetooth is gonna be quite a bit slower, and honestly, you might just want to use it cabled. But I will say I broke my fastest typing record ever on the Lofree after a few attempts. And I've done typing tests on hundreds of different keyboards. Hundreds. But ultimately, you're probably wondering, which one do I get, Hipyo? Well, I think it comes down to two things. If you want sound and feel, then spend a little bit more and go with the Lofree. If you want a little bit of customizability, or maybe better wireless performance, then you're gonna wanna go with the Nuphy. But either way, you can't really go wrong with either. They're both really solid keyboards that have their pros and their cons, so I hope I helped you out a little bit, and I hope that you enjoy your anime waifu. Yeah. Now, I'm super biased here because I've been using the Lofree on and off for the last couple months as a daily driver, so when I got the Nuphy, it kind of just felt like it was a bit of a downgrade. Like, I mean, it is physically cheaper, so it is technically a downgrade, but they do both trade punches very, very aggressively. Similar to Logan Paul, but without the NFT scams. But I'd love to know what you think. Did you like this video of me just comparing two keyboards and giving my thoughts on both of them? Do you have either of these keyboards and like either of them? Then please leave a comment, and I'll be leaving you with the sound test of both of these keyboards. Please watch the whole thing to support my YouTube algorithm overlords.